بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. My name is Israel Abdurrahman Ortiz. Assalamu alaikum to everyone out there. Peace be upon you. I'm here to tell my conversion story, my reversion story, how I came to Islam because I wasn't born into Islam. So I'd like to share my story, my journey to Islam with you. Whoever's watching, maybe you could find something similar in your life that you could relate to and hopefully help you on your journey or any questions you may have. I get asked often when I meet people, how did you become Muslim? You grew up in America. A lot of ideals in America seem to be, different to Islam. How did you become a Muslim? So I'll start with my background. Who am I? My father's Puerto Rican, and my mother is Native American from the West Coast tribes in Arizona. And I grew up in a Jehovah's Witness home. My mother and father were Jehovah's Witness. They started out as Catholic, and then they converted themselves to Jehovah's Witness when I was very young, maybe 1 or 2 years old. So I grew up in the Jehovah's Witness Kingdom Hall, which I think it was good for me because Jehovah's Witness program is very much about spreading the message and inviting people to the good news or whatever it may be. Also, their concept of Jesus is not a divine concept. They don't equate Jesus to God. So I think this kind of gave me a foundation of maybe questioning the general norms of what people think, maybe. And then also too, to invite others to Islam, because this is what I love to do. So I grew up in a big family. There's 7 kids in my family, and just a working class home. My father was a welder. My mother was a homemaker. A lot of alcohol in my family, a lot of alcoholism, both my parents, a lot of anger issues. There was some abuse, some physical, emotional abuse, which led to myself and some siblings taken out of our home, and we entered the foster care system. So the first half of my life, of my youth, was at home, and then the second half of my youth was in the foster system. And this exposed me to how other people think, how other people live. There's other lifestyles. I think it was good for me because it showed me that there's more to my world than just what I was seeing in my neighborhood or what I was surrounded by. So I was encouraged to seek how other people live, how other people think. And I graduated, finished high school just like a normal American kid, playing football, experimenting with drugs, into music. And I entered college. I had my own business, and is where I met my first Muslim. I actually happened to be homeless. Me and my younger brother were homeless, and we had we were supporting ourselves with our own business, and we were going to college at the time. And we had met a friend who happened to be Puerto Rican and into music and the same kind of scene we were in. And we needed a place to stay, and he invited us to stay with him. He said, I have an apartment in a Muslim community, and yeah, you're welcome to stay with us. So I did. Me and my brother were with this gentleman, and he did happen to be in a Muslim community, which meant this was right after the Somalian wars. I guess the president had left, and there was a lot of turmoil. So there was a big influx of Somalian community, and the apartment complex I lived in was a lot of Somalians and some African American Muslims. And what was striking to me about this situation is this particular apartment complex was known to be a very high drug and gang apartment complex. The way it was set up, the neighborhood it was in, it was just a perfect drug dealing area. When I was living there, the brothers were in the course of moving these people out of the community and replacing them with immigrants and Muslims. And I saw that as a good thing. You know, I was like, wow, here these young brothers are taking responsibility to make a change in their community, right? They're not relying on anybody else. They found the means to say, hey, we're going to get these people out of here and we're going to clean it up and we're going to bring in some people who can really benefit from this. So I was intrigued there, just the living situation. Being surrounded by Muslims and my roommate being Muslim, we often got into conversations and debates, and which was one of my favorite things. One of my favorite topics was always religion. When growing up in the Jehovah's Witness church, I really took to it, and I believed in it. I believed in God. I knew that there was a next life. I knew that there was a God out there. And even when my parents stopped going, they were actually like excommunicated from the Jehovah's Witness church. I was still taking my brothers and sisters. I was still going. I was still attending. So this religious fire in me, I guess, was always there. And I was always ready to discuss, hey, what do you believe? How do you see God? Through your experiences, what have you come to realize about life? Why are we here? Why are we here, right? And so I would debate and argue and debate and argue. And then finally one day, one of the brothers who would come over to the apartment often and hang out, you know, I said, you know what, let's just give me the book, right? Just let me read for myself, okay? I don't want to argue from a point of ignorance, so let me read the book, and then, you know, I could come with better arguments or see for myself. And the brother's response, I'll never forget. He said, I'd love to give you the book, but I can't, because you're not purified. And I was like, what? It's a book. What do you mean I'm not purified? And he said, well, the book says, God says in the Quran that if you don't purify yourself, you can't even approach or come near the book. And I was like, okay, well, show me how to purify myself, right? Show me how to pray. So he showed me the wudu, how to purify myself. And immediately I remembered verses reading about how Jesus washed before he prayed, and how Moses washed before he prayed, and how the Jews washed before they prayed. So I was very intrigued, like I've never done this before. You know, I even though I grew up Jehovah's Witness, in my foster home, one of my foster mothers was a Baptist choir leader, so I was involved in the Baptist church. In another foster home, it was an Episcopal. The lady was an Episcopal Christian. So I was always open to, you know, I attended Catholic Mass. You know, I was just searching for truth, searching for God, searching for the reasons why I'm here. And I didn't want to be prejudiced to what other people believe. So I was really open when I saw that, oh wow, you wash before you come to God's book. This is awesome. This is beautiful. I've never done this in the church. And then he said, you know, make a little prayer. You know, you're coming to God's book. You're obviously seeking some guidance. So go ahead and make yourself a little prayer. Oh God. And I said to myself, oh God, if this book is from you, truly, then show me. You know, let me know that this is from you, that you wrote this. Which is important because I believed prior that all the religious books were written by man. But I knew that God had to have sent some kind of message, a book, a scripture, something that was from him, that was approved by him, that was untainted, that was untranslated, that was not missing pages or missing verses. And that was one of my prayers even before I was Muslim. Oh God, if there's a religion out here that you put down, that you approved of, that's pure, then show it to me. So I made a prayer, God, just show me this. This is your book, and opened it and started to read the first chapter, Al-Fatiha, the opening. When I was reading this, the first thing I noticed was right next to the English translation was the Arabic script. And I had studied the Bible, and in researching the scripts of the Bible, I noticed that the historical, the manuscripts that a lot of these Bible translations are from, they're missing whole pages. They're fragments of the book. A lot of the parts were filled in later. So seeing the original Arabic text next to the English translation, it really intrigued me, because I said to myself, wow, if I don't believe this translation, I can just learn Arabic and see for myself what the prophet was saying, right? And then the brother told me, because I said that, and the brother told me, yeah, he's like, every dot, every line, every vowel is the exact same as when Muhammad uttered it out of his mouth, peace be upon him. He said, so many people memorize this exactly, that if they heard you mispronounce it or something, then they would jump right on you. So again, I was intrigued further. And while I was reading, I had a physical feeling that something was grabbing me, that something was hugging me, and that something was squeezing me, and it was kind of pulling me into the book. And I didn't even finish the Al-Fatiha. I think I finished it, and I closed the book immediately, and I said, whoa, this book has power. There's power in this book that I've never seen before. And I've studied Satanism before Islam. I read up on witchcraft. I studied magic, hypnotism, astrology, just the whole gambit of the occult, the unseen. What kind of forces and powers are out there. I have never been physically touched by a book, and had a feeling that something was grabbing me. And I closed the book immediately, and I pushed it back. And I told the brothers, whoa, there's like power in this book, man. And I don't think I'm ready for this. This is serious. And wallahi, I swear by Allah, I was really, really scared of this book. I was really scared. I knew that there was power or something in this book, and it sat on my shelf for about 2 weeks. And my shelf was right by my door, and I'd walk out the door and I'd look at the book and then when I'd come in the house, I'd look at the book and, oh man, I want to read it, but yeah, I'm not ready for that. I'm not messing with it. So fast forward a little bit. In my apartment complex, there was always Muslims. So walking home from the store one day, I overheard two Muslims talking. And one said to the other, man, the Quran is beautiful, man. He said, whenever I have any problem it could be, I make 2 rakats, I open the book, and every time I open the book, no matter where it is, the answer to my problem is right there, every time. And I just overheard it. Didn't really stick with me until one day I had a really bad emotional problem I was dealing with. It was really hard and heavy on me, and I was looking for answers. And I remembered the brother saying this, and so I made the wudu. I made 2 rakats as best that I could, and I just randomly opened the book, and I said to myself, and I started crying. Tears were coming down because the specific nature of the problem that I was having. There was no way that Muhammad could have known that, that the problem that I was having, and as specific an answer as it was, And as randomly as I just opened that book, and the first verse that I look at was the right answer that I needed, it was just so overwhelming. And I continued reading, and it was just more answers and more revelations, which contrasted to my studying of the Bible. And the more deeper I would read and study the Bible, the more questions I would have. Why this? This doesn't make sense. And how come this? And why this? And all of these answers were being answered in the Quran. And every time, every verse I'd read, it'd be a new revelation. Like, wow, mind blowing. Wow. How could Muhammad know this? And that was the day. And I remember the verses were talking about a believer, who the believers are, who the non-believers are, who the hypocrites are, what will happen to the believers and the non-believers. And I said, you know, I'm a believer. I believe in God. I believe in the heaven. I believe in the hell. I believe in these things. I am a believer. I believe in this. I don't want to be a non-believer. And I kept reading, and I kept reading, and I kept reading, and I kept reading. And the brother gave me a book, Islam in Focus, which was great. It brought a lot of the concepts about Islam into focus. And that's where I learned my salat, how to make the salat, the prayer. I was like, okay, if God, if this is from you, I want to learn how to pray to you. And so I was learning the prayer and making prayer in my house. And I would carry the Quran with me wrapped up on the bus, just to school, to work, wherever I go. And people were just drawn to me. And they would look at me, are you Muslim? And I would say, no, I'm not Muslim yet, but I'm studying. I have a Quran here. And they say, well, you just look Muslim. And I don't know how that was, because I was so hip hop. I had a beanie and didn't have the beard. And I was just into my music, hip hop music at the time. So, excuse me, it really intrigued me on how these people were even knowing that, I was studying Islam. And one brother on the bus, he said, man, you just have the light. You have the light, we call it the nur. You have this light around you. He said, and it's because you're coming to Allah, and Allah is embracing you right now, which was beautiful to me. Growing up in a abusive home, growing up in the foster system, not really feeling that love, that they would say Jesus loves you and stuff like this, and you believe that, but this is the time, if someone told me they could see that love emanating from me, that just encouraged me more. One day, this was the really turning point, and the realization. This was the high impact moment here, where I said, okay, this is the truth, and I want to be Muslim. I'm walking into my apartment, and I was so fortunate. This apartment that we were living in happened to be at the other end of a masala. So I was on the ground floor on one end of the building, and at the other end of the building on the ground floor, the Muslims had converted 2 apartments into prayer rooms, one for the men, one for the women. And on the weekends, they were the duksi, they were the Quran school for the kids, which encouraged me even more, right? That these people were on the weekends, instead of playing, they're studying Quran. So it was really fortunate for me that this was so close. I'm walking to my apartment, and one of my friends, a good Muslim brother, Safir Ali, may Allah be pleased with him, he comes and he says, hey brother, it's time for salat. You want to go pray with us in the masala? And I said, oh, that's good, but I'm learning my prayer right now, and I'll go pray in the house. I'll go pray when I get in. I just got back from the bus. And I'll never forget what the brother said. He grabbed my shoulder, and he looked at me, and he said, brother, that's good, but the blessings are in the masjid. And I said, wow, I could use some blessings right now. So who am I to reject faith, to turn down blessing? Because here I am reading the Quran, reading about the rejectors of faith. I don't want to reject faith, right? I don't want to reject God's blessings. Okay, let's go to the masjid. So we go to the masjid. There was an older Somalian brother, very like an elder, leading the prayer. It was, it was an apartment room. Just let me say, the first time I entered this place, I felt peace. The Muslims call it sakina. I literally felt the sakina. I felt the peace just came over me from the top of my head down to the bottom of my feet. It was like almost like a chill, but it was a peaceful feeling. I looked around, we took off our shoes like Moses did before the bush. There was no podium for a speaker to grandstand and to make a show of himself. There was no pictures of any idols or somebody to worship. There was no statues. It was just prayer rugs and books. And that was it. And that appealed to me to like, okay, this religion is about prayer and study. And that appealed to me. That made total sense, that religion should be about prayer and study. And it shouldn't be about a preacher or a pastor or a saint or anybody. Immediately I felt the peace. So we line up for Salat. And during the prayer, the imam must have made a mistake, because a young boy who was praying next to me, who was 12 years old, I learned later, he was not even, he just turned 12, a young little boy, Somalian boy, corrected the old man, corrected the elder. And to my amazement, the elder was no pride, humbled himself and fixed the verse and continued the prayer. And I couldn't believe it, that out of the mouths of babes, the truth was being spoken, as Jesus had said, right? And Jesus said, until you become like little children, you cannot enter the kingdom of God. And that, the truth would come from the babes, and respect the youth. So to see this elder, learned man humble himself before this child, it just blew my mind, right? Blew my mind. So we finished the prayer. We're doing the dhikr. I'm still just blown away by the beauty and the peace and all that I'm seeing. And then the brother, he gets out, he looks over to me and he says, "Are you ready to take your shahada?" And I did not want to reject faith. I knew I was a believer. I believed in God, the one God. I believed in the day of judgment. I believed in the heaven and the hell. I believed in the angels. I believed in the books. I believed in the messengers. I mean, what else was there? This reflected everything that throughout my whole life, my whole young 20 years, that I had pieced together and realized that this is what life is about. It did. It reflected what the truths that I had learned already. And since I did not want to be a rejecter of faith, I said, yes, I'll be a Muslim. If I learn something different later, then, I could change. And so I took my shahada, mashallah, February 2nd, 1996. Mashallah. Thank you, Allah, for showing your mercy on me. Allah, I'm so grateful that you chose me out of so many people to know you. Like, I didn't choose Allah. Like, I didn't choose my life. I didn't choose to meet the people I met, right? Like, this was all circumstance. This was all preordained. Coincidence, whatever you want to call it. This was from God, right? Everything that I learned up to this point. I'm still to this day amazed that God still allows me to know him and worship him. And I'm so grateful. Thank you. And I hope that if any of you out there are listening or thinking about, studying Islam or taking Shahada, that know that the feelings that you're having right now, this is from God. This is from your Creator. He's calling you. He's pulling you. He's giving you hints. He's giving you clues. He's giving you signs, and you have to heed those signs. You have to humble yourself. You have to be willing to say, I may be wrong. My parents may be wrong. My grandparents may be wrong. My community may be wrong. Right? There must be something more out there. How do the people in China, how do they view God? The other people can't be so arrogant to think that we know the truth, right? So this was the high turning point, the high critical moment for me, that this child could be a respected part of the community. I later learned that this young man was a hafiz, Quran, a hafiz. So he had memorized the entire Quran from A to Z, every letter. And he was qualified to teach the Quran. 12 years old, memorized the whole book. I don't know one pastor that I've met that's memorized every single word of the Bible. And I have yet, in my 47 years on the planet, to meet one person who's memorized every single word of the Bible. And yet, 12-year-old, memorized the whole Quran. And the respect, it just blew my mind. And I wanted that. So I was so lucky and fortunate to have a masjid right down the hallway, because I basically moved into the masala. I basically slept there, prayed there, was learning the prayers, reading all the hadiths, going to the Quran classes with the kids on the weekends, and I just immersed myself into. So I'm Muslim now. What is a Muslim? What am I supposed to do? So learning and learning and learning. And of course, the first thing I do is I want to tell my family, right? This is the beauty of Islam. What did I learn? And I had thought my mother was going to be antagonistic, really. I thought she was going to be probably disappointed or even a little disrespectful, maybe, knowing how my mom's temper could be. But surprisingly, she was supportive. And she was actually proud. And when I first told her that I was studying Islam, she asked me, nation or Orthodox? And I didn't even know there was a difference. I didn't know there was an Orthodox. I thought what I was about to read and get into was the Nation of Islam, actually. And I was a little turned off by that because I didn't believe in racism and, humans being devils, and just a lot of the concepts I just didn't agree with. So she was really the one who opened my eyes that, okay, there's another Islam, that there's an Orthodox Islam that actually tries to follow the book. So she was very supportive in my venture. And I think my mom, she knew my intelligence level, and she trusted me. And she actually gave my little younger brother up to me. She said, here, I'm having problems with your young brother. He was in high school at the time. Here, I want him to stay with you and learn from you. So that was, I got a lot of support from my family. Being the oldest from of my brothers and sisters, they looked up to me, so they listened to me. And fortunately, over time, 6 of my brothers and sisters became Muslim. Thank God. They all took their Shahada. Thank goodness. I'm so grateful for that as well. My mother still hanging on to the Jehovah's Witness, but she understands, she respects, and hopefully, if you guys make dua for her, she'll become a Muslim. My grandparents are interested in Islam. I'm talking to them. I gave my grandmother a Quran, so she's asking questions. She's studying. Alhamdulillah. In my community, this was like the late 90s, and Islam was like still not very known. And so, especially amongst the Latino community, and so I think I was like one of the first in my city. So, not first, there was others, generations before me, but of my generation, people around me of my age and my generation. And so dawah was very big to me, and I was in the streets telling everybody I could about Islam, and I was just asked, when did I realize that Jehovah's Witness was wrong? I never really thought they were wrong. I've always felt in my heart that there's just something missing. There's something off. One of the things of Jehovah's Witness is you cannot baptize yourself and become a Jehovah's Witness unwillingly. They don't believe in a baby birth, an infant birth. They believe that you must willingly, consciously choose to be Jehovah's Witness. So even though I grew up a Jehovah's Witness, there was just something in me that was unsettled, that said, there's something here, man. There's something it's just not right. It just doesn't fit. Something doesn't fit. And I think it's Christianity more in general rather than just the Jehovah's Witnesses. Because the Jehovah's Witnesses encourage Bible study and reflection. And so I had more questions as Christianity, like with the Bible, especially. For example, the story of Moses. And it says that the book of Genesis was written by Moses and the book of Exodus was written by Moses. So this should mean that the book should read as such. And Moses, went to the wilderness to tend my father's sheep. And I heard a voice, and the voice said to me, right? It would be first person narrative if Moses wrote the book. He's telling the story of what happened to him. But it doesn't read like that. The Bible reads, and Moses went to the wilderness to tend to the sheep of his father-in-law. And he heard a voice, and the voice told him. This is third person narrative. This is somebody else telling the story of Moses. So even as a youth, as a child, I was like, it says that this was written by Moses, but it's not written as if it was written by Moses. It's written by somebody else telling the story of Moses, which contrasts to the Quran. When I read the Quran, it was in first person narrative. It was all, oh, you people, oh, you children of Adam, don't you remember the favors we bestowed upon you? You know, it's like directly from the Godhead, the God, the creator, to directly to me, directly to humans. Oh, you children of Adam. Oh, you who believe. Oh, you who think deeply. Oh, you who are in sin. You know, he's talking. Don't you remember when we turned, you weren't even there when we turned to the heavens when it was smoke, and we told the heavens to come together. It's first person. As opposed to the Bible, a lot of it is somebody else is telling this story. And how do I know this is the right story, right? Even as a youth, I knew that if I told my brother a story and he told my sister, by the time it got to my mom, it's going to be a totally different story than what I told. Just little changes. And I believe that this is what, you know, I think something was settled in me, like unsettling in me, that there's something with this Bible. There's just something missing, which set me to search. That's why I read about witchcraft. That's why I read about Satanism. That's why I read about Buddhism. That's why I read about Hinduism and you know, I was searching. I had pieced together that God is in all of these religions. He had originally sent all of these religions, and the truth is in all of them somewhere. And I just have to piece them out because people got their hands on the religion and inserted it over the years, which happened to be true. And so the purity of the Quran, the untaintedness of the Quran, the fact that a 12-year-old child can memorize the entire book, and millions and millions and millions of people have memorized the whole book, and the fact that you can take every physical copy of the Quran in the world and burn them and disintegrate them, that the Quran will still be alive, and because it lives in the hearts of these millions and millions of people. And you can get 3 of them together in a room and create a new book because it's memorized. This cannot be changed. If anybody hears the words repeated the wrong way, there's going to be 10 people there to correct them. So this religion has God's protection on it. It has God's promise on it. We're fortunate that God said, look, what happened before, the followers of these people, you know, they changed the book, and I'm going to put my protection on this and make sure this doesn't happen here with this one, because this book is to last till the day of judgment. and it needs to be pure and unchanged, especially in this age of information, right? In this age that we live in the so-called age of information. And you can't just pull the wool over our eyes. Maybe some of us you can, but the information is out there for us. So the Quran can't be hidden away in some secret library. It can't be translated away into some mystical languages or anything like that. It's there. It's protected. It's for us out there to learn and to grab a hold of. So that's my conversion story. That's my journey to Islam from an abused orphan who had nothing, right? I was literally sleeping in the park with my brother at 18, right? Literally sleeping in a park bench, homeless, and just and now Allah has made me Muslim. I'm the father of 8 beautiful children. I'm a respected member of my community, a businessman. Just a couple of years ago, I was traveling the country teaching CEOs and plant managers, how to do better in their job. I mean, God has raised me from nothing, and I'm truly grateful and humbled. And every day I'm still amazed that Allah has seen it fit to accept me into his religion. And I hope any of you out there who have any questions or doubts or reservations, just ask God. He brought you this far. He taught you everything that you know up to this point. He taught you everything you know. He answered every one of your questions up to this point. Why won't he not answer your questions now? Why will he not show you the way now? Right? This is truly from him. And I believe if you sincerely seek him and come to him, then he will rush to you. I've experienced it myself. The signs are so many. The signs are so many. Once you take that step, that step to Shahada, to bear witness openly that you bear witness there's no God but Allah and Muhammad is his servant and his messenger, then Allah's doors of mercy just open. They just open and his blessings are poured upon you, whether it be through knowledge, whether it be through family and children or respect or prestige or whatever it may be. Allah does definitely lift you and makes you a leader of your community. So if the brother has any questions or anything that I left out, then I could end it there, but that's basically it. And again, I just want to thank One Message Foundation for all the work you guys are doing and for allowing me the chance to share my story, and hopefully it will inspire others to take that step and embrace Islam wholeheartedly and join the family of Muslims. And I hope to see you all on the Day of Judgment under the shade of Allah's throne. And may Allah keep us amongst the believers in this life and the next life. May Allah save us from the torments of the hellfires and keep us all in the highest places of paradise. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.